Arma has a lot of different servers and therefore different calibers that could be used in the game. But for this one, I'm just going to be using the stuff that could be found in Spearhead servers. So first off, something that should be clarified is that if you go into the arsenal, some magazines are labeled at the bottom and some aren't. So some would say nothing, and then some would say something like 7 and 10, for example, for the 545. Those are generally the same so long as when you hover over them, it says 7 and 10. So if you look at this mag over here, it says 7 and 10, even though the label doesn't have it. But then if you look at the other 7 and 10, it's labeled 7 and 10. Those two bullets are still the exact same thing, and therefore do the same amount of damage. Another thing to note is that barrel length does seem to matter. So for example, if you have a short barreled assault rifle, that is going to do less damage than something that is longer. So a 10-inch does less damage and takes more shots to kill than something like a 16-inch barrel. Generally speaking, there are three types of bullets. There's armor piercing, AP, there's FMJ, full metal jacket, and there is tracers. Generally, armor piercing is always going to be the best one. If you take away anything from this video, it's that you should always use armor piercing if you're trying to kill somebody. And also, with this next test, we'll be able to reasonably conclude that we don't need to test multiple times, as armor degradation seems pretty consistent and it doesn't wildly fluctuate. So if you shoot 7 and 10 and you do it 3 separate times against a full plate of armor, that first shot is going to take away the same amount of durability. We're going to first start with the 545 caliber. Generally, most of the AKs are going to be the same length, except for like 74Us, those like short looking AKs. It won't really vary that much damage wise. Maybe there's going to be some fire rate differences, but those are also kind of not that big of a factor in this game, since usually they're pretty close anyways. That's a little bit of a tangent. 7 and 10, so this kills in about 8 shots. The 7th destroys the armor completely. So this is going to be your AP round. When we perform it for the second time, basically the same exact results. And the third time, nearly the same results again, except there's an accidental kill shot at the end, so it takes 1 less bullet. But we could safely assume that degradation is going to be the same, generally around 8 shots to kill. You also get 7 and 6, which is full metal jacket. It's much worse, taking about 12 shots to kill through the armor. The absolute worst is actually 73, which is a tracer, which takes about 13 shots. So not that much worse than the full metal jacket. Still not that great compared to 7 and 10, so just going to want to run 7 and 10. Now for 556, we don't have AP, so the best thing that we have is FMJ, which is the M855. Now, does it make it worse than the 545? Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes as well, because the fire rate is not that much different to justify moving to a 556 platform, and the amount of more bullets that it takes to kill somebody just doesn't feel as good. So if you really want the meta, the 545 AK is probably going to be better. But M855 takes about 12 shots to kill somebody. You also get M856, which are tracers, but you can't really get them by themselves as they only come in a mixed mag situation with some M855s. So unless you find the tracers useful, I'd recommend just sticking with M855. The barrel length of the 556, like I mentioned before, is a little bit more of a problem because there's a lot more variation. So you could have something like the M4 SBR, which is short for short barrel rifle, and something like the SCAR L CQC. That's also a short barreled rifle. But then there's also the longer barreled versions of that, and those ones typically perform a lot better and require a lot less shots to kill. In other words, if you see a longer barrel, go for it. Now the 7.62x39 caliber only has FMJ rounds as well, or a mixed mag with FMJs and tracers. The FMJ round is the 57-N-231, and this kills in about 6 shots, which is actually pretty good. And in fact, it's the best that we have so far, beating out the 7 and 10 from the 5.45 caliber, which if you remember, took 8 bullets. Next we have 7.62x51. Now this one actually kind of confused me a lot when I was testing it, because 7.62x51 is a big bullet, and you would think that it would kill much more quickly than the smaller rifle rounds. And for the most part, this is true, except for M80s. This round actually takes 9 shots to destroy and kill the armor, which is actually worse than 7 and 10 from the 545 caliber. Therefore, M80A1, which is your armor piercing round, which kills in 3 shots, is far superior than the M80. You also get M62, which is a tracer round, but again, it only comes in a mixed mag situation, but based on its performance in a later test with a bolt action rifle, I think it's safe to assume that it's comparable to the M80. Now, to build off of the previous 7.62x51, now we're going to be talking about 7.62x51 fired out of a bolt action, which is, in this case, the M40A3. The barrel length is larger by a little bit than our DMR/G28s, so it kills in fewer shots despite using the same bullets. We have 3 bullets, being the M61, which is armor piercing, M80, which is FMJ, and M62, which is tracer. For this test, I was having a weird time as well, because despite looking like it hit the armor, sometimes the bullets seem to just ignore the armor and just outright kill the NPC. I even had a test where I hit the armor with M62s and one shot just destroyed the armor. Then I have some tests where it takes 7 shots to kill somebody with the M80 while hitting the armor. But after narrowing it down to just hitting the exact center of where the armor plate should be, it seems that M62 and M80 are pretty neck and neck, both taking about around 7 shots to destroy the armor and then kill the person. This means that M61 is going to be the best because it takes only 4 shots to kill, which also fits our previous assumption that the AP rounds are better than FMJs and tracers. We then move on to 7.62x54R, and this was shot out of an SVD. We have 3 rounds being 7N14, which is AP, and we have 57-N-323S, which is Full Metal Jacket, and 72, which is tracer. We can't really count 72 because it is again a mixed mag situation, so you can't get it by itself, but since it's a tracer, it probably performs worse, if not the same as the FMJ round, based off of our previous testing from the other bullets. The AP bullet kills in about 6 shots, and the FMJ kills in about 8, with the last shot actually penetrating the armor, but still damaging the plate, leaving a little bit durability left. So AP is again our winner. And we also have 7.62x54 out of a PKM. So in a situation where it's belt fed, we have 3 bullets being 7N13, 7T2, and FMJ. 7T2 is a tracer and an FMJ round. 7N13 is the armor piercing bullet, and they also only come in a mixed box situation, and FMJ comes by itself. 7N13 was able to destroy the armor and kill the person in 4 shots, whereas the FMJ took about 8 shots, leaving about 4% of the armor durability. And for our final round, we get 9x39. We only got SP5 and SP5T, with SP5T only coming again in a mixed mag form, so you only have one real choice. We shot SP5 out of the AS-FAL, which has a longer barrel compared to something like the S3RM. I was pretty confused with this round because no matter what I try to do, the 9x39 caliber just seems to be really buggy most of the time, and seems like it just completely ignores the armor and instantly kills the target at like medium to close range, even though it seems like it's hitting where the plate should be. However, at a range, it still takes about 4 shots to kill compared to like an M4 taking only about 2 shots to kill to the chest. In conclusion, for your small arms, unsurprisingly, 7.62x51 M80A1 out of a DMR is probably the meta choice because it could kill in the fewest amount of shots, being 3 bullets whilst also offering semi-automatic functionality. And although it wasn't covered in this experiment, there are assault rifles like the Scar H, which would let you run full automatic. Just don't use the CQC version because the barrel is smaller and therefore should do less damage. As for secondaries and pistol calibers, I would really not recommend any 9x19 bullets because it quite literally cannot penetrate armor at all. So unless you hit an exposed area, they will not take any damage. All of the 9x19 rounds are tracers or FMJs, no armor piercing unfortunately. However, in the Russian kit, you get 7 and 15, which oddly enough still cannot damage the armor, but it penetrates it, so you could roughly deal around 25 damage per shot. Somewhere around 4 or 5 shots to the chest could kill them, in theory. But the Vitiaz that uses this round is a primary, not a secondary, so you can't really pair it with a better primary weapon. Kind of making it useless because why would you take that over something like an assault rifle? But there is a pistol caliber that is pretty good, which is 9x18, and the bullet in question is 7N25, which is an AP round, and you could shoot it out of the APS pistol. If I remember correctly, it has 20 bullets per magazine, and it could destroy and kill in about 9 shots to body armor. So that's actually pretty respectable, taking just 1 extra bullet compared to 7 and 10 from the 5.45 caliber. Of course, the only downside, like with many pistols, and even with the 9x39, at long range it's not very good, so try not to put it in that situation. Of course, most of the time, if you ever really do need to use the pistol, you're forced to use it in an emergency at close range, so just be mindful of the range difference.